Hi, I'm Mark Cook with Twisted Throttle. We get a sampling of new bikes through our shop for a variety of reasons, and we just happen to have a Honda CB1100 EX and a BMW R NineT Pure at the same time. So, to get out of the office and actually ride, Marissa McInturf and I broke away and spent the day bouncing around Newport Island. That's just over the bridges from our HQ in Exeter, Rhode Island. We ogled mansions and traipsed around the beach, trading bikes back and forth. And over lunch in Newport, we did what all motorcyclists do. We picked favorites and argued in favor of our conclusions. So we've been riding these two bikes around all day. Beautiful Newport, Rhode Island. That's the Honda CB1100 EX and the BMW R NineT Pure. A couple of really cool retro bikes that, really taken motorcycling by storm, if you will. And I was curious, after you've had so much time on these things, what are your thoughts?
The BMW is more modern. It has that kind of modern flair, and it's supposed to. But I really like the more timeless look of the Honda. The chrome, the flat seat, the round headlight and gauges and everything. It all just kind of, I don't have as much experience with the retro bikes as you do.
Hey.
But I kind of like that timeless look.
And that's what Honda was going for with this bike. It's really a throwback to, the air-cooled bikes of the 60s and 70s, really designed to give you that full-on Honda retro look. There's a certain shape to the tank and the side panels. And what I think is interesting is it's an air-cooled engine. It's one of the first ones they had done for a long time. And it's a classic inline-4, air-cooled, across the frame, Japanese engine. Back in the day, we called them the universal Japanese motorcycle, and it was a bike that you did anything on. You could tour, you were going to commute, you could take them off-road a little bit. I know that's the thing that interests you. So, we kind of did everything with one bike. We didn't have specialized bikes, and from the perspective of living in a world of very specialized motorcycling, how does that sit with you?
I see the Honda doing that really well, being a universal bike, because I could easily hop on it and do mile after mile, but I could also very easily hop on it and ride through town, and it's an easy bike to ride, and it does everything well. Whereas with the BMW, it's a little more, I don't want to say purpose-built, but it's got some edge to it.
I think that edge is the reason I like the BMW as well as I do. The R NineT came out, BMW, again, back in the day, was really kind of known as an old man's bike. Very conservative designs. The old airhead motors were very low in power, and just in the time that the Japanese were accelerating the horsepower war, BMW was sort of staying the course with the old designs. And I think it's a bit ironic that now when BMW has high performance bikes like the S1000 XR, you also have this sort of a throwback bike. So for me, the Honda styling, it's like somebody's described what a 70s Honda looked like over the phone to somebody and they sketched it. And I don't necessarily mean that to be an insult, but it's got so many lines that are different from the originals, and the color is a little conservative, and it feels like they're trying to modernize something that really wants to be a place and time. Now, I know you probably don't have the same perspective on that, but as you look at the Honda from today's standpoint, what does it do for you stylistically?
And I'm not usually a chrome person, but I like the chrome on the Honda. I think it looks really nice, and the red, I like that color red. But as far as the look goes, if you were to kind of think of what a retro bike looks like, that's kind of what I have in mind, whereas the BMW's not really. It kind of, it's more evolved.
I think that evolution is intentional because the shapes are evocative of early BMWs, especially the scallop in the tank and a few other things, but really sort of several degrees away from the way the originals were done. It's not trying to be a 1960s BMW. And I think that's why it works for me, because it's got elements of that. It's got that simplicity, but it's not trying too hard. It's kind of its own thing. And I think it works for me that way.
One thing that I always look at too is with a motorcycle, I'm going to go out and ride all day. On the BMW, I feel like I'm leaning forward, I'm putting weight on my wrists, which is, something that I look for in some bikes. But with that particular bike, a bike that I'm going to cruise around town, I want something that's going to be comfortable for a long day of riding. And the Honda does that for me.
Yeah, dynamically the Honda is really good for that. The suspension is really soft, the engine is really smooth. The throttle response is great. this is typical Honda in the way it's so refined, and they really got that figured out. I feel like, again, you could sit on that thing all day. But I think for me, it's that smoothness that kind of takes the edge off for me. I kind of want a motorcycle that's got a little snap and a little personality, and the Honda is just it's a stick of butter.
I don't disagree with you there, but at the same time, if you're a newer rider or someone who doesn't want to have to think about riding as much, they just want to look around, they want to enjoy the scenery and pay attention to where they're going and not have to think about the actual act of riding, the Honda, I think, is the perfect bike for that.
So these bikes are like exactly in the same wheelhouse price-wise. It's right at $12,000 for the BMW, it's $12,200 for the Honda. Both have ABS. Now, if you started to stack up the pluses and minuses, they equal out pretty well. So we take price out of the equation as far as what, helps you define the bike that you would buy. I think I know the answer, but tell me, which of those two would you buy? I
think I would have to buy the Honda just because it's going to be more comfortable for me. And like I said, at the end of the day, if I'm not comfortable riding the bike, I'm not going to choose that bike when I walk out into the garage and want to go riding for the day. So I think the Honda would be the choice I'd go for.
Well, that's fair, and I'm going to be on the other side of that because, as we were saying earlier in the ride, it's, if you're going to be comfortable on a motorcycle, that's great, but I really want something that's got a little snap and a little personality and a little vibe to it, and it works for me because I feel like there's a kind of a living, breathing motorcycle under me, and the Honda just is so cautious and careful that I don't know, if I'm going to be bored, I might as well just drive and have NPR and air conditioning.
So I think it's funny how at the end of the day you've chosen the more modern BMW as your bike of choice, and I've chosen the more retro styled Honda. But either way, no matter which bike you like the best, we have plenty of options for accessories for these two bikes.
That's right. In fact, we're going to be throwing a few things at our Honda CB1100 EX, and you'll see another video on that. Things to make it a little more functional, a little bit more fun, a little more protection for kind of day-to-day use, which is kind of what we do. So tell us which retro you like the best in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you like our videos.